Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome
What
back.
up? What up? What up? Here we go
Oh, we
again.
back at it. We here. We are here. It's episode 3 of season 2.
It
Maybe I
started.
don't know. I don't know
Yeah,
what we're doing. I
yeah,
mean, we're pre-rolling this. I mean, we're kind of filming and making it happen and see what it does afterwards and post.
exactly,
But
exactly.
I don't want to put a title on it yet or a number on it. So I'm gonna say,
Yeah,
welcome
don't
back to
put
a
a
new
number.
episode. Yeah, welcome
There
back
you
to a
go.
new episode.
Exactly. That's all you got to say. That's all you got to do right there. Leave it at that. That's what's up. So yeah. So we wanted to talk a little bit today, man. Right before we do a little intro, just about how we move as being people of color and who we are. I'm black. And Zion is black and Mexican, so Blaxican as we call it. So anyway, that's what we want to talk a little bit about, and maybe it help you have conversations with your child, and or allow your child or youth to be able to have a conversation with you about it. So hey, let's roll that clip, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. I likes it. I likes it.
Man, hey, the audio listeners, if you haven't got a chance to check out the new intro, go to the YouTube, man. Go check out that new intro for y'all. I
Yeah,
think y'all enjoy it. Let us know what you think about it. That was a pretty
that's
good
fun.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
that's
lot of
good.
fun.
It was definitely fun. So, hey, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into it a little bit, man. It was, you know, a lot of stuff been happening the last few years, right? As far as uh, black people, people of color, and when we talk about that, talking about our Hispanic, Latinx bros, our indigenous folks, much love, even our Asian, you know what I mean, folks and whatnot. And so, wanted to just wanted to have a conversation with you, because I'm sure you had some experiences as well as I, and like, how do you just navigate um, being in spaces as a person of color? And I got schooled one time because
Ooh,
I went to this. It was a lightly schooled. It
okay,
wasn't heavy handed by no means.
for sure,
They
for
were
sure.
just showing love. I went to this conference and I was using the term minorities, that
Mm,
black folks, Hispanic, Latinx folks are, we're the minority. And I would always say minority majority, right? Because we
mm,
know that that population is getting larger and will be large, one of the largest in years to come.
for
And
sure.
a brother told me, he was like, "Oh yeah, we don't use that term no more. We use people of color." POC. And I was like, okay, okay. I ain't mad at that. So then and I had always seen the word in BIPOC, which is
Mm-hmm.
BIPOC, right? So POC is people of color, and then BIPOC, BIPOC is black, indigenous, and people of color. So
Mm,
in the academic world, from my understanding, is that there's a lot of folks that are using those terms. But I also know that sometimes you have to be clear, and when you're talking about certain things like this, you know, it's okay to say, "Hey, we're talking about black folks, or we're
mm-hmm.
talking about Mexican folks, or Cubanos, or Dominican
Mm-hmm.
Republic, or Dominican, excuse me, Dominican Republic, Dominican. We're talking about Native Americans or indigenous people or American Indians. It's okay to say that, because a lot of times we group them all together, which is okay for me when we're
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation about people of color. But some people, you want to break that out sometimes, right?
Right.
But so yeah, I'm curious to know from you, man, like, what has it been like when you were coming up, being black and Mexican? Like,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that can be easy, could be hard, depending upon where you're coming up. What was it like for you, and what was your thought process?
Yeah, no, I think this is an interesting topic. I think I don't talk about it often, but I feel like it's always up in the air. You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's a topic that we should talk about more often. But I didn't get really fully comfortable talking about it because I didn't know how I felt about it. You know, I didn't know how I felt being black and Mexicans, and it was interesting growing up because people look at me and they think automatically growing up in Tucson that you're black, right? And
Mm,
then they see mom and they're like, oh, wait a minute. You might be, are you white? Are you black and white? Are you black and Mexican? Right. And then not until they see, you know, or hear her talk and say her name, which is Raquel, and they're like, oh, okay, so you're black and Mexican. So yeah, it was interesting growing up, just with two identities and not knowing which one
mm,
I fit
mhm,
in. I think that was the most confusing part for me. I think, you know, this is no hate or anything towards, or, you know, uh towards my black community out in Tucson, but it felt like I was being pushed away from that community because I wasn't black enough, whatever that meant. You know what I mean?
mm, mm,
Um,
mhm,
the way I spoke in elementary school, middle school, high school was, I guess they called it white. I spoke white. I spoke like a white person,
mm.
and that always kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and I wasn't really sure what how to feel about that, but I knew I didn't like it. You know, I was just like, that's just how I talk. Like I just speak in a way that I was taught. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
uh, the also in my Mexican community too, that's where it was kind of relevant too. Where they always told me that I spoke white as well. Like I was different. I was a different black person. They didn't expect me to speak that way or whatever the case may be. So it came from both ends. But
Mm,
with my black community, it was very like, ah, you're not one of us, you know, or I didn't smoke weed, you know what I mean? And that was something that was
mm.
big within both communities, you know what I mean? But they didn't want me to be part of that. I couldn't be part of that because I didn't do it, and they were like, "Oh, well, you're not black enough, or maybe you're not doing these things," and trying to fit me into the stereotype, or maybe believing that they had to keep up the stereotype that was said of them, right, or
Right,
the
right, right.
idea of it. So I didn't fit that box. You know, of course, I had my moments, of course, where maybe my blackness was the way I speak sometimes with slang and understanding how to use that in code switching, but then also in my Mexican community, being able to, you know, say some Spanish words, that Spanish slang, you know, hanging with my compas and doing all these things at the carne asada and all that, right? And being able to understand what they were saying and whatnot. But it was really, really confusing
Hmm.
at first.
Right, 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 right. No, I feel you on that. Yeah, no, I think it's confusing for I don't know, whatever race you may be, trying to figure out again how to navigate spaces and a lot of behavior is learned also, right? And traditions that come up from those different cultures. I know for me it was tough because I always lived in places that I was the majority of the time the minority, the only person of color,
Mm-hmm.
um, and or one of 5 or 10 persons of color in different places. So I, was raised in Saudi Arabia and lived on a compound, which is kind of like a military base, but it wasn't military. It was for the workers who worked for this oil company called Saudi Aramco, which is the largest producing oil company in the world. My parents had moved us, my brother and I, out there. My dad got a job, and there was only like I want to say five of us. Don't quote me on the number, but like, yeah, I mean, I'm cool with those bros today. I mean, because we grew up together. So it's Damon, Norman, Jerry, Marcus. Trying to think who, Dwayne,
Mm-hmm.
definitely, and then my brother. Um, there was another brother, Mario, but he wasn't there that long. And there were a couple of other, like one or two, but they weren't there like as long as we were. So that was like the core, the cats that I'm talking about. And then as far as like black women, Jerry had a sister, and then there was the Perkins. There was I think two of them. One was our age, and they had a younger sister. I think it was a younger sister, because of course, I didn't mess with a younger sister, and you know what I mean, like hang out with them or
Right.
anything. So, but my point just being is that we were one of You know, we were a few of
Mhm.
a whole different other group of ethnicities. And then, like, being in Vermont, I went to boarding school in Vermont. That was different because, again, there was only like, man, maybe like 15 or 20 of us out of like 800 students.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was real different. And then we think about just, I mean, that's the school. Then you think about the state. I mean, there ain't
Mhm.
hardly no brothers there. And there was only one black family um, in the town that the school was in, and that was Ray and London Wofford, the Woffords here. Shout out them, and that's who we connected with, and rolled with them. And
Right.
then, so I didn't really begin to like really. I mean, I knew there was things that were. I remember, man, one time. Yeah, so this is when it hit me hard, and it didn't even happen to me. It happened to my homeboy, and this was in Saudi, and we were like seventh grade or something like that, sixth or seventh grade, and he, liked this girl, and this cat Jerry, man, was like, I mean, he was, popular cat. I mean, all the brothers were, but he rode his BMX bike. He was a BMXer. He was a skateboarder, so he was really good in those activities, and everybody liked him because he was good at doing that stuff. And um and so everybody was, I mean, dating a little bit. I mean, that sounds crazy,
Right.
right? In fifth or sixth grade, but yeah, I mean, we grew up fast in Saudi. It was but he ended up liking this one girl, and she was white. Again, most of the people that we were around were white, uh white girls that you know might be interested in and whatnot. And so he ended up liking this one girl, and she ended up telling him that she couldn't date him because her father didn't like the idea of her dating a black dude.
Mm.
And so when Jerry, like, again, this is like middle schoolish age, so right, we all are conversating and know, and we're tight. And so
Right.
when he broke it down to us, we were like, what? Then we went to go talk to her, and she was just like, yeah, my dad said. And it was just like, what? This is crazy, man. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's when it like hit the hardest, where it's like, wait a minute, like, we're that different that, like, we
Mm.
can't, you know, I mean, cause we all grew up together, you know what I mean? We always
Right.
play together, but then as soon as it starts to get like a little bit more, I guess, interested in that individual, or I guess you could say romantic, um, then it's like, nah. And it was like, well, what makes us so different? I mean, we're going to the same school, we're getting the same education, we're doing well, all of our parents are making mad money,
Right.
but yet her dad didn't see us as, equal. And
Mm.
that just kind of messed with me a little bit, and definitely messed with Jerry. Um,
Yeah.
and again, so that was kind of like, at that young age was the first time. I mean, of course I knew that, it's different traveling, and, you know, you get to see just and feel that you're different in some
Right.
ways. So anyway, yeah, that was real interesting, just going through that,
Being in that.
and
Yeah,
felt hurt.
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, hurt, and it wasn't even me. It was my homeboy. I felt bad for him, but then I felt bad for us, because it was like,
Yeah.
so can we approach any other girls, or what are we supposed
Mhm.
to do now?
Yeah, yeah, it
so
was.
so
That's
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, threw us off a little bit, man. And so yeah, so that was kind of like the first. And then I think the other piece for me was when I really started um really looking into the whole blackness part of things for me, and understanding, is when I went to Temple University.
Mm.
um that was the first space that I had truly been in, where I saw a lot of black folks, and they were doing positive things. And
Wow.
um there was so many different shades of us, and I was taking classes on just about slavery and oppression, and the politics behind it all. And so I was being challenged. That's when I first read Malcolm X autobiography, and
Oh,
was studying Martin Luther King a little bit more, and then also studying Gandhi and Cesar Chavez, and that's when like all that stuff started to kind of bubble up for me a lot more and deeper in
Mhm,
trying to
mhm.
figure out who I am and what I was about. So I feel like I'm talking a lot about the and grabbing the mic too much, but so you
No.
you 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 were saying that like you never really thought about it, and but what was it like walking into spaces where were you the only person of color? Have you ever been in those type of situations yourself?
Well, I think growing up in Tucson was unique because, I think I don't know what the stats are, but majority of the population, I feel like just from what I've seen and heard, is Mexican, right? That's who I grew up. That's what my community was based out of. Really, was in the neighborhood there was like a lot of Mexican families, a lot of Mexican neighbors that we hung out with and that we knew and that I got to make really good friends with. And there was one white neighbor who was Justice, right? And we used to hang out with Justice for a couple of times and whatever the case may be. But I was really around Mexicans for most of my life. But it wasn't until I went to maybe Sam Hughes Elementary where I started being around more white people in a different neighborhood, and I was like, "Oh, so this is what this feels like." Okay, like, and I remember, well, also in Peter Howe, the elementary school, before I transferred or moved to Sam Hughes, I remember the longest time that I don't know if you remember this. I bet you would, but I wanted my hair to be spiky. You remember that? And you don't remember this,
I don't remember that. No, no, no.
dude? I went through bottles of gel, bottles and bottles of gel because all the cool white boys that were getting attention from the girls or having friends, they all had spiky hair. And I was like, okay, all right. I know I got the blueprint, I got the blueprint now. So I was like, all right, so if I want to have friends and I want to be, attractive and I want to do all these things, like I just have to have spiky hair. So I started like trying to mind you, I have for the viewers or for the listeners, I got curly hair, man. I got a nice little crown on me, you know what I'm saying? Nice little curls.
Right,
Uh
right.
so I was trying to make them stand, like you got to put like a lot of gel. And with the gel, one of the things that I realized quickly was that it flaked throughout the day and people would be like so thrown off. They're like, is that like lice or is that like
Dandruff,
you have
right?
dandruff or something?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
but it was just the amount of gel I was putting on my head because I wanted to fit in so badly, and I wanted to be attractive or have friends, right? And I'm surprised you don't remember this, but we had a conversation about this in the car on the way to school. We were like on our way to school, and you were telling me like, listen, man, like you know, you have curly hair and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with curly hair. And
right, right.
you talked to me about like how a lot of people wish they had your hair and they wish that
True, true.
they wish they had the curls, they wish they could do a little taper, a little fade action. You even told me
Mhm.
like they wish they could go to Lisi and get a nice little haircut at
Yeah,
Al's
yeah, yeah,
barbershop,
yeah,
but
yep.
they couldn't do it. And you should be proud of that you have something so unique to you that the people that you're going to be around and the people that are going to love you for you aren't going to ask you to change. And I think that was like a big moment in my life where, and then I think right after that, you started taking me more to the barbershop more to get
Mhm,
like, and
mhm.
you started me to immerse me in that culture and being proud of my hair and seeing like all the different hairstyles. And you showed me pictures of you growing up where you had the flat top. And I was like,
Yeah, yeah,
oh, I
yeah,
can't
yeah.
wait to get the flat top. You know what I mean? And those were like those little things like are like we're just so like it didn't make sense to me at a young age, but the more you get educated and more exploring, you have somebody in your corner that's telling you to embrace your blackness or embrace your Mexican side, Hispanic side. Like that empowered me to be like, oh, this is dope. You know what I mean? And I got more recognition for my hair for it being me rather than trying to be someone else. So
Right,
that
right, right.
story that story was just like reign supreme. And we have you have a younger daughter and I have a little sister where we had to have that conversation with her for a while, right?
Yep,
Where
yep, with her hair, yeah.
she got immersed into I don't want to say white culture, but with white people a little bit sooner than I did, right?
Yes.
And being around that kind of environment and crowd where she saw a lot of young white girls have straight hair. And for the longest
Yeah.
time, I remember she wanted her hair straightened like almost every day. And partly it was because it was easier for her to do, or whatever the case may
Right,
be,
right, right.
but also it was probably trying to fit in or
Yeah.
assimilate
Yep.
to meet her peers' needs, right, or whatever the case may be. So,
I think that's funny though, because um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I did drop that knowledge on you. You know what I'm saying? That was me. I remember fully. Yeah, man, that was a deep conversation.
he's capping
But
on the podcast. Look
right.
at him.
But what's interesting though is what I do remember. I don't remember the conversation to be honest, but what I do remember is when we were trying to go around and find, remember places to cut your hair. Man, we couldn't
Mm.
find the right people because I mean, we at one time we tried what was
Sports
it like
clips. You took me to sports
sports.
clips, man.
Ooh, that was like a mistake.
Man,
We walked out
what?
of there, it was like, ooh, okay, okay. And the hard part was because at first I wanted you to go to barbershop, but I didn't like going to the barbershops because it takes so long, man. You be in there like all day, like
Right.
trying to get in the chair. So that's why I was trying to find something easier, quicker, so we can get in, get out. But yeah, that did not work. And then even because your hair texture is very, like you said, curly and it's different, and not even a lot of black barbers knew how to, cut it. And then we
Mhm.
found um I had one of my homeboys who had similar hair to yours when we were coming up through college, who who knew this one woman who was the baddest, Lisi, right? Oh my God,
She
she
could
could
cut,
cut,
boy. Let me tell you
boy.
something. Oh boy, them trimmers like,
Man,
woo,
yeah.
butter.
And then she started doing and then like you said, we would go to Owls and try that, but we'd be sitting there for, and I'm like, man, I got things to do. And I know a lot of, so within the black culture, right, the barbershop is a great place to hang out and talk smack and get educated and get uplifted. And but man, I ain't had time to be there for 3-4 hours. You know what I'm saying? I got other things to do. And so when Lisi what started to make that work was she moved on to a different spot, but then started doing appointments.
Mhm.
So that I could like book times for you to go there, and then boom, it was a lot easier. Because there was even a time when I was trying to cut your hair, and I was like, "Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
that ain't
I used to get roasted, man, because you would cut my hair. Like it was, man. In fifth grade, in fourth grade, it was
going."
tough. It
Right.
was tough. Fourth grade.
But yeah, I was like, "Ooh, yeah, okay, we got to start going to the barbershop here and trying to figure this out." And but yeah, I mean, just part of the reason that I cut my hair altogether was because I was tired of again trying to go to the barbershop, waiting. I got other things to do and be hanging out, and it just got easier. Um,
Right.
and doing that, but and again, that's a part of that identity thing, right? Is like, okay,
Mm.
like what's going to work for me. I'm seeing all these cats with like long wavy hair and like I said,
Right.
even spiky and whatever it may be. Trying to figure out, okay, what's going to work for me. Like you said, talked about my flat top back day.
Yeah.
Then also having it low with the waves and going through that and trying to figure out how to do that. um and yeah, man, so sometimes navigating spaces can be hard, even when it comes to like the hair piece, right?
For
Because
sure.
when I was in Saudi, they didn't have any barbers that could cut our hair. It was
Mm.
they had like salons for like all the white people, but so we ended up my homeboy Jerry, his dad would cut our hair. And
Mm.
he was good. He was really good. And
Nice.
he put like designs in our hair and stuff like that. And people were kind of like, what the heck are y'all doing? And we're like, yeah, what's up? It's the brothers. That's what
A
we
little,
called ourselves.
a little star right
Yeah,
there.
little
Yeah.
star or a little zigzag or lightning bolt or
Yeah.
yeah, whatever. And we were known as the brothers, and that's what we call ourselves today because we're just a cohort, right? The brothers.
Mhm.
But then when we went to Vermont, when I went to Vermont, same thing. There was no barbers that could cut our hair, and so the brothers um, in our dorm, we would cut each other's hair, and some had
Mm.
better skills than other. There was a brother from Bermuda, Scotty. Man, he played basketball. He was a basketball star, track star. Man, bad brother, and he would cut our hair, and he was good at cutting our
Yeah.
hair. But we had to do it in the dorm, in the bathroom. We weren't able to go to like go sit in a barber chair, and that was for 4 years. Saying we were
Wow.
figuring that all out. So again, it's almost like little things like that where you go to certain places and you don't have what you need in order to be um to not accept is not the right word, to be to just take care of yourself. They don't
Right.
have the tools or the everything is made for uh people that are not us.
Right.
And
Definitely.
that hits some type of way, right? What's
Mhm.
awesome about today is it's gotten a lot better. You know, when I look
For
at
sure.
your sister and the products that they have for her hair, um,
Mhm.
is amazing. So she can, keep it up and just be able to go to the store and find that type of stuff,
Right.
shea butter and I'm not gonna remember the names of all the different products we be
Miss
trying, but
Jessie's,
yeah,
Mixed Chicks, yeah, all those.
all that stuff, right? And even for you, we were trying to find, like, even when we think about shampoo,
Yeah.
right? I mean, a lot of shampoo's not made for us. I mean, white people wash their hair like every day. Black
Yeah.
people aren't supposed to do that, or people of color.
Mhm.
Most people of color. I'm gonna say black people. Let me stick with black people
Yeah.
because we need those natural oils in our hair. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
If not, if we washing it every day, we're drying it out, which then does create the dandruff. So a
Right.
lot of those shampoos aren't made for us, and you
Mm-mm.
don't you kind of wonder, like, well, how come my hair is all dry and this, that,
Right.
and the other, right? And so, learning how to condition it and um just take care of it.
Take
So
care of
anyway,
it. Yeah. No, I
yeah,
wanted to your point though about that, like just thinking about back in the day when I was growing up, and now V being able to walk to like a CVS or a Walgreens or the Target and pick up whatever she needs. It used to be like, oh, my Grammy's selling this stuff and she got it mixed in. It's like in a little mason jar, and you got to go pick it up, and it's in like saran wrap, and you're like, all right,
remember that,
cool. I
yeah.
think I'm good for another like month or something like that. So it's cool to see
Yeah,
how far we have come, or Jana trying to, she over here like a chemist. She's
you're
doing
right.
like,
Yep,
and
yep.
it's different out here in Arizona because it's dry heat. You know what I mean? So like
Exactly.
that's what Jana, your mom, my grandmother used to be like. This is my hair. I just can't. Da, da, da. And so she was trying to find out her ways to get her hair right. So it's just like that. To your point, it's just cool to see how far we have come to be able
Yeah.
to and have those entrepreneurs, those people of color that or black
Yeah, shout out.
entrepreneurs coming up with black hair products for black people with curly hair. And even the beard care, man. Like I got
Yep.
you were talking when I used to shave, right? Like when I got through puberty and I was shaving, you're like, ah, yeah, those 3 guard like the little
Yep, yep.
disposables weren't gonna work for you because I have curly hair and the ingrowns would happen. So
Yep, yep, yep.
Tristan Walker from Bevel, you got on and you got the single edge, right?
Razor. Yep,
Single
yep.
blade, yeah.
Yeah, and that took a while too because when I was coming up, right? So I was when I wasn't in my home when I had to first start shaving. It was I was in boarding school, and there was this white dude from Cali, this pretty boy. He was mad cool, man. He kind of looked out for me. He was like, oh, so my dad actually had given me some stuff. Actually, when okay, so it was right before I went to boarding school. I did need to shave, and it was just baby hairs that were like under my, like it was just like a light. It always looked like a light shadow, 5 o'clock shadow, right? And it
Mhm,
wasn't thick at all. It was just baby hair. But I was like, I don't like that. I got to get rid of it. So my dad was like, hey, okay, I'm gonna give you this stuff called Magic Shave. I was like, okay, okay, cool, cool, cool. And Magic Shave is a depilatory, which is it's a cream that you put on your face, and it basically burns the hair off of your face, and you only have to leave it on for, like, I think it's 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and then you just wipe it off, and it comes off. So I was using that, man, but it
it's like
would burn.
Nair. It's like
Yeah, it's like
equivalent
Nair.
for Nair for people that don't know. It's equivalent.
There we go, there we go. Thank you. And it used to burn, man, and it would stink too, right? And so um I had this one dude, like I said, this white cat, man. He was mad cool, brother from Cali. He said, hey man, you should maybe try use, because they would clown on me when I would use it because it would smell up the hallway. And they'd be like, dang, oh Jamal, he over here shaving again. So the cat was like, hey, you know what? He bought me this shaving kit that he got. And people got money. And so in boarding schools and stuff, but he was like looking out for me. He bought me this kit, and it was a razor that had like 3 razors in it. And then it had like a little lathering tool or whatever. And I used it. And when I used it, I ended up breaking out. I had like all these
Mm,
bumps, razor bumps all up under my neck. And I was like, "Ah, what the heck, man?" I'm like I was looking like, "Oh, man, the elephant man." I was like,
Oh,
"Oh,
no.
my face," and I'm like of course, I'm in high school, and I'm trying to look cool, but here I'm looking busted. I'm like, "Okay, I'm never doing that again. Let me go back to the magic shave," and, um and it wasn't
Hey,
until later in my life, man, that, I understood when I say later, I mean, like, actually when you were probably, what, 14, 13,
yeah, in high school.
that I was like, "Oh, I need to use a single, blade,
Mhm.
and it's a safety razor." And I remember my dad used to use that when I was little. I
Yeah,
remember seeing it in his bathroom. I never knew what it was, and he never told me. But yeah, but now bevel, if anybody's out there, if you're a person of color and you got curly hair that may, when you shave and go back into your skin and create those ingrown hairs, yo, single blade is what you need. Don't be listening to these commercials with Schick and whoever else, man, talking about you need 3, 4 razors. No, for
uh,
us darker skinned folk, especially black folk, especially if you
yeah,
have curly hair, you just need the single blade. Go with that right there, fellas. Um,
definitely.
and use that. So it was really just interesting again, like trying to find, watching TV and saying, "Oh, okay, that's what the commercials are about, right? So this is what you need to shave." But for me and for black folks, that's not true. And we didn't
Right,
see any commercials about like how we're supposed to shave and what products we're supposed to buy.
right.
Um, to help us even as men. And so that was really a trying time. So real quick, the thing that's interesting too is this also goes the other way, that sometimes
Mhm.
some things that are made for people of color or black folk ain't made for other folks.
Right.
Because I had this one cat, this white dude named Kyle, and he grew up in Saudi with us too, but we went to boarding school together. He was like, "Hey man," he was getting razor bumps from shaving, and he
Mhm.
was like, "Hey, Jamal, I noticed when you use that magic shave that you don't get those bumps." And he's like, "I want to try it." And I was like, "Okay." I ain't think nothing of it. I'm just like, "Yeah, we." And he tried it, man, and it burnt the heck out of his face. Like he had blotches,
Oh,
like
no.
where it just took his skin like off. And he didn't, I mean, he
No.
left it on the same amount of time as I did, but our darker skin complexion,
Mhm.
I think is, I don't want to say tougher, but, and somebody out there in the world may have a better explanation, but of, how to say it, the
It's like more
terminology for it.
durable or something like that.
Yeah,
Resistant.
yeah, it's just our pigment is, I know
Mhm.
it could just handle it differently. And that's when I realized, I was like, "Oh, so this ain't for everybody."
Right, right. Exactly, exactly. So, Bevel, if you listen to this, Tristan Walker, listen to this, you know what I'm saying? Hey, hit us
You know what
up.
I'm
We
saying?
got you.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And that's a product that was made by I should say
Blacks
it wasn't he didn't develop the single blade, but what he did is he
branded it,
re
marketed it.
reinvented it where it was a little bit smoother and slicker and sexier
Mhm.
for young men who want to have that in their house or in their hands. And it's a nice design. And because my dad's looked like from back in the 50s, you know what I mean?
Right.
And it like would twist and it open up, and then you got to put the razor in. But this one is I don't know, it's just more sleek. So hey, Bevel, give
Yeah.
us a shout out. You know what I'm saying? Bevel, give us
You
a
know what
shout.
it is. But,
So anyway, go ahead, man.
one of the things that I was thinking about as we are talking is like, yeah, we're talking about like, health, well-being, and how certain things work for us as black folk or even people of color. But one of the things that sparked this conversation or this topic for me was the idea of having scripts. You know what I mean? And I think one of the things that I was blessed with was having two professionals in my household. Not a lot of people are blessed with that. They don't have people that have or parents that have PhDs and masters and that know how to navigate life a little bit in a way as being people of color, right? And there's some pushback with what I'm about to say, but one of the things you taught me was like, and you and mom was like, you have to make it home alive. That's all that matters, right?
Yeah,
And there's of course there's things that we're upset about and we're frustrated about, but one thing that really struck a chord with me was one day one of my colleagues was at a school and he walks into the office or the administration building and he's like, "Hey, can I get into the admin building?" And they're like, "Who are you? Why are you here?" type of thing. And this is a predominantly white school, right? And a white person talking to my colleague who is a person of color, and it kind of just rubbed him the wrong way, right? And it rubbed him the wrong way because he felt that he was being there was prejudice being on him for entering the school and looking a certain way. Like he wasn't, he's not buttoned up in the suit and tie and da da da. But
Mhm,
if he did look
mhm.
like that, would the conversation look different? Would
Right,
the approach have been different? But
right.
he was, he dressed like me. He wearing some cargo pants. He's wearing a snapback, and he's wearing some shirt, a graphic tee. You know what I mean? And they're kind of like, "Yo, what are you doing here? Like, what you need?" And that just rubbed him the wrong way. And we had a conversation about this, and I was like, "Ooh, yeah, it's a school setting, first of all." So I'm like, "Oh, okay, like." They have to be more, with today's climate, you got to be a little bit more strict on security and trying to, be
Right, right, right,
in
right,
question.
right.
And so that's where my brain went to automatically, was like they're looking out for the safety of the youth, right? But then, him telling me that he felt some type of way about it, I had to look at it from a perspective of like, oh, well, I don't deal with that because I have a script for that. You know what I mean? Like, so I
Mm,
don't get
mhm.
that interaction. And what I was taught was by my parents was, as a black man, and this sounds horrible, and this is the world we live in the reality, and you don't like it, we're in it, is I have to disarm people. I have to disarm people, and it's tiring, it's exhausting, but
Yep,
to avoid miscommunication or to avoid me being dead or dying, I have to disarm people. So when I walk into a school and I'm looking for a building, it's, hey, I'm Zion. I'm with so and so organization. Yeah, I'm wondering. I'm here to speak with the point of contact, and can you help me out? That's what that looks. That's my script. But not I'm having that conversation with my colleague. I figured out there's not a lot of conversations that take place like that, right?
right.
There's people are just, and it's not right. It's not. I'm not saying this is fair. I'm not saying that this is how it should be for the rest of our lives. But I'm saying this is the reality we live in. And
It's a
like you
reality.
said, at the end of the day, it's to make it home alive. That's what it is, right?
Yep,
So just having this conversation with us today, I am blessed with and having the honor of you having my parents teach me that at a young age and understand that, you are a threat immediately as you walk in, just because of the color of your skin and your facial features. You're a threat. People already think something of you.
yep.
So how do we disarm them? You have to be vocal. You have to communicate why you're there and what you're doing, especially in a professional setting. So I don't think a lot of young black men or people of color are getting this conversation. It's tiring, it's exhausting, and it's unfair. But as a parent, as a guardian, these are conversations that need to be had, because at the end of the day, the bottom line is make it home alive,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Make
Yeah,
it
it's
home
unfortunate. Yeah, it's unfortunate, yeah, that we had to have that conversation with you and even your sister, and understanding that when you walk into a space and I walk into a space, I understand that what they see first is my blackness. I can't
alive.
take this off, right? And whatever um thoughts they have about black people is probably what surfaces first, and then like you said, disarm, have to, it's funny, my brother and I were just talking about this last night because he
Mhm.
went to a function that was predominantly white, and um when he walked in, you could tell just people kind of froze up like, "Ooh, what's he doing here?"
like record,
Not
like a record scratch.
yeah, like like,
Yeah.
"Hey, what the," and it was his coworker who, they have really deep, honest conversations, from what he says with to me is that she's very, right wing,
Mm,
but she's really cool and open to conversations and sharing her beliefs and my brother his, and they really get along. She's
mhm.
not racist at
Right,
all, but she just has certain viewpoints that are different than my brother's, and she hangs around people who support what she believes, just like
right.
we hang out who we believe. So nothing wrong with that, but I don't think that this group of people, that her other friends, have interactions with the black folk. So when my brother shows up, he shows up as black. And so whatever connotations or judgment that they have is, kind of was seen through their body language.
Yeah.
And again, it's not something that, it's one of the things that we learned how to do, my brother and I. We had to learn how to navigate spaces knowing that people see black, and being
Mhm.
especially in a space where we're one of only um, mm, a few amongst a whole bunch of other white folks. um, you have to learn how to, like you said, disarm. And it sucks. You're right. It's tiring. We shouldn't have to do that. And there's some people out there that don't, that are people of color or black,
Right.
and that's fine. But there is sometimes a consequence to that.
Mhm.
And I love that you emphasize that it is unfair
Mhm.
and it shouldn't be that way. But life's not fair.
Right.
And we need to have conversations though on, like you said, like we told you, is I just want you to get home safe, man, no matter what.
Mhm.
And so, um, an interesting piece of this for me, just to show you how kind of deep it runs as far as being a person of color and walking into spaces. I think I've told you this before, is that I know, the other thing, I'm a big dude, right? Uh,
Mhm.
Good looking too, good looking. Uh, and I know that my presence can create a situation um, that could not be beneficial to me, right?
Mhm.
And then ultimately for us, whoever I'm engaging with, right? Um, and so I'm very aware a lot of times when I'm standing next to maybe a woman, what that space is, how much space I'm giving them.
Mhm.
I'm aware of uh, making sure that I stand in a way that it doesn't make a person feel trapped.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, I'll give an example. Like yesterday, I took my mom to a physical therapy appointment, and this woman wanted to give me her business card so I could be able to call the physical therapy place and make changes if I needed to. And it was like a little walkway, but at the end of the walkway where the desk was,
Mhm.
it, it stopped. It's like a
Okay.
little wall partition,
Right.
and she walked into that space to go get a business card, and I was behind her, and I realized, oh dang, if I like stand here, it makes it seem as though I'm blocking her in this space. Now, granted, it was only waist high, the
Mhm.
wall, so everybody could see. So it wasn't, but still, I was aware, like, ooh, I don't want there to be no misunderstanding. Again, we're just giving a business card, but those are the type of things that I think about and grew up with, and being safe to make sure that I'm okay.
Mhm.
Another example is, at the Circle K's, which is a convenience store for those of you that don't live in Arizona. It's a convenience store. You can go into this convenience store and they have these free magazines, or newspaper, excuse me, called
Mhm.
Tucson Weekly. And it's a pretty good publication. I mean, it's got like a lot of information about, things that are happening in town that week and stuff like that. Some pretty good articles. You can go in there and just grab that Tucson Weekly and walk out.
Mhm.
I never do that, because I feel as if though if I were to go in there, grab something, and then just leave, I feel that I'm gonna get called out, and that's
Right.
embarrassing. Like, hey, what are you doing? Where you going? What was that? What's that?
Yeah.
And then you got to be like, no, man, I'm not stealing that. And then everybody around looking like, oh, yep, see, there those, that type of,
Mhm.
right.
Mhm.
And so what I do all the time is I grab the weekly, I put it up in the air. I'm like, just grabbing the weekly, and then I roll out. Right.
Right.
Because
Right.
I don't want no drama, man. I don't want, is that fair?
No.
No. Should I have to do that?
No.
No. Does every black person do that? Probably not. But
Mhm.
I guarantee you they have been stopped at some point in time,
For sure.
wondering, would you grab? Would you take?
Right.
Right. And so, being a person of color, and I'm speaking for myself as a black man, is that those are things that we have to be aware of, again, to um and again, I don't agree with it. I don't
Right.
like it. I don't think it should be that way, and I think we should fight towards that changing. But in order to get home safely and not have to deal with more drama, maybe I like the way you say disarm. um, de-escalate
Mhm.
situation before they even, and it's tiring. I agree with you, man. It's tiring and it sucks. Um, but walking into certain spaces, man, you just know, um, and it's important to just recognize that.
For sure.
I feel, um, and having these conversations with your dad or your mom or your grandparents
Uncle,
or
somebody.
uncle or somebody, just to say, okay, how should I move, um, and be positive about it. Meaning, your self worth, even though it's not fair and it sucks having to deal with all that, but that you are worthy. I like what you said in that one presentation that you did for us. Was at the end, the three.
You're worthy, you're capable, and you're enough.
There you go. And
Mhm.
that's what it's important about, um, having those conversations. Why it's important to have those conversations, because you are worthy, you are enough, and it's important to recognize that, but recognize that you need to talk about who you are, what your culture is. Um, a lot of times, parents, I don't think, have those conversations openly, and
Just hope it doesn't happen to their youth. That's what it is. Like,
right,
especially with people of color, they're like, "Oh, okay, just if you just stay this way, like, instead of painting the reality for them, you know?"
yeah, I think so, right, and I think it's just sitting down and just really talking about it, and I think a lot of times, I'm in this one group, and a woman shared that, she's a woman of color.
Mm,
She didn't think that there really was racism because she tends to hang out with just all Mexicans.
mhm,
And then it wasn't until her daughter came home one time and was like, "Hey," her daughter went to college actually, and
mhm,
was like, "Oh, we are not liked."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And there's other bros that I've talked to that are Mexican bros that left high school and went to the U of A, University of Arizona, and they were like, "Whoa, okay,
mhm,
there are not many of us here.
no,
This feels different." They didn't feel welcome. They didn't
mhm,
feel included, and so that's a mind shift. And so, for me, because I grew up the way that I did, and my dad had to train me the way that he did, because I was going to be in these spaces of being a person of color with all predominantly white folks. Um, I knew how to I learned how to navigate that at a young age, but that was due to conversations that my father would have with me,
yeah,
just like I did with you, and do with your sister. So I don't know. I think the main point in having this conversation for me was to allow people to talk about these things
for sure.
and share like some of the things that you and I have discussed with folks. Um, and yeah, that did suck having that conversation of when you get pulled over.
Yeah, mhm,
You remember we were
yep,
talking because you were driving, and I was just
yep,
like, "Hey, uh, a white person might be like, 'Why you pulling me over?' And you ain't got no right, and this, that, and the other." But as a black person, you just sit there and shut up, and do every command they give you.
mhm,
Maybe you're not wrong. And yeah, all these videos that are out there talking about, like, well, know your rights, and you can say this, and you can do this, and you don't have to do that. I agree if that's legal.
yeah,
Let's do. But you, as a black person or even a person of color, is it going to be the same outcome
right,
in that moment
right,
that'll benefit you, or are you going to end up in handcuffs? And then there goes your day. You got to get
mhm,
figure out how to get bailed out, and again, like you said earlier, I appreciate you saying this, which is um, it's unfair. It sucks, and some people may even say, well, listening to this, "Oh man, you're being weak." No, I'm
mhm,
I'm 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 trying to get home.
right,
I'm trying to get home, man.
mhm,
Life's too short, should we fight? Yes, and there's a way to fight that, right? That's through voting. That's through changing policies and impacting systems, and that takes time too, which is okay. But it's a matter of again, having the conversations. So
Yeah. No, I think what you said is all important because yeah, that's the one that sticks out to me the most, especially if you have a young person that's a person of color or a black youth in your life that's just about to start driving. Yeah, having that conversation. And I always find it shocking. I mean, when I hear my maybe white friends getting pulled over or white people that I know getting pulled over and they're telling me, yeah, I told this cop, F off and you're a piece of duh and all this. And I'm sitting there like mind blown, like, and you still here? Like, what? Like, and it's like we keep reiterating, it's unfair. And I think, like, because we would never, I could never, without severe consequences. I feel like, you know what I mean, and
yeah,
um. I don't want to play the game of let's test it and find out. You know what I mean? Like,
right,
cause
right,
like
right,
you said, I'm really just trying to get home, and I'm really just trying to live my life. And like you said, there's ways to go about it. If it was unjust, if it was, getting a lawyer and stuff like that. But like you keep saying and reiterating, I love that you keep saying this, is that it's unfair, it's wrong. We need to continue to fight and we need to continue to do things about it, right? And I'm interested. I think this would be a good conversation to circle back to because I know we're a little bit over time. And inviting Dr. Sherrod Robbins to come back and maybe talking about from his viewpoint. You know what I mean? Because
yep,
he
yep, yep.
has, if you haven't checked it out or if it hasn't dropped yet, we have a special guest, Dr. Sherrod Robbins, who just lays down knowledge, and this is what he studied. He got a PhD in it, and he knows all about it. And I would be interested to get his take on it. You know what I mean? And let other people get maybe a different perspective on how he sees things, as well as hearing our perspective. Because
I'd also be interested in also hearing from our listeners, like
mm-hmm,
especially if they're people of color, what has been their experiences in being in spaces where they're the only one.
yeah,
Have they had similar experiences? And does it feel different for them? So so we got Dr. Sherrod Robbins definitely with the historical knowledge and all that, but
mm-hmm,
then also I'd like to hear some real life situations similar to some of the things that we talked about,
definitely.
noticing things.
And the way that they can do that is DM us on Instagram, or you can send us an email or visit our website at uptowit.club. You can write a little in our Uptowit contact form. Write down what should be the hashtag be for them to use us in.
Ooh, ooh,
My
dang.
experience. We
Yeah,
can go with
my
that. Yeah,
experience. Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
experience. So when it comes in, we are in the subject line, put hashtag my experience. So we know what episode this correlates to. Cause I can imagine we might get a lot more emails and coming in as we keep having these conversations, because, one of the things I want to let people know as we're having this conversation is that we come from a background where, we are privileged, right? We have a unique privilege with the way we grew up and the environments and the resources that we were able to acquire. So what you might be going through and what you might be experiencing might be totally different than our experience, and we want to acknowledge that, and we want to hear from you. And that's why we're always open to learning. We're always open to our perspective being changed, maybe a paradigm shift, so to speak. But
Well,
in order to do that, we want to hear from you. So don't be shy, don't be scared. We're not gonna get mad. We ain't gonna get butthurt. We're all about learning. We're all about communicating with each other and with you first and foremost. So our hope at the end of every podcast is that this sparks a conversation. And
yes.
I don't know if I told you this, but I think our little mantra should be the Up to It podcast: difficult conversations for stronger connections.
Hey, what's
Like
up?
that, you
Look at
like
you
that?
thinking. Look at you thinking. That heat got you thinking.
Hey, that's all I can do in this heat. You know what I mean?
Yo, let's get out of here, man.
Let's do it, man.
Thank you all. We'll get at you.
Man, peace.
Peace.